when this flare-up happened, that I could not move a muscle. I couldn't lift anything. Joe will say, like, he was feeding me in the hospital because I couldn't lift the fork to my mouth. And then I said, you know what? I have to get back.
Josie has multiple sclerosis, or MS, a disorder where the immune system attacks elements of the nervous system.
Like you said, when you're lying in a bed, couldn't move a limb, and you said, I want to go back on the bike, I was skeptical, but I was hopeful.
Yeah.
That's Joe, Josie's husband, and nearly as important, her tandem biking partner. Over the past 10 years, they've put over 10,000 miles on their adaptive tandem bike and raised $100,000 for MS research.
Which made Josie all the more determined to work herself up from those hospital and rehab beds and back onto her tandem bike seat.
And then when we first tried it, we literally went around the block, and then we took baby steps, 5 miles, and went our way up, because it's a big thing from being completely immobile in a hospital bed to being back on a bike.
Yeah.
I'm Robert Pease, and it's Josie, but also Joe's Body Odyssey on this episode. They're facing the challenges of MS in tandem, on and off their bike, and Joe has the tattoo to prove it.
So I got this for Josie, and it says, your battle, I forget what it says. Your battle is my battle, essentially.
I'm Valerie Wences, really enthused to share this story of exceptional spirit and devotion, which is also somewhat of a love triangle when you include that tandem bike they ride wherever and whenever possible, even in the depths of the Boston winter.
We try to be safe. If we know it's icy, we won't go out, but we have seen some other crazy people out there when it's in the 20s, for sure, and saw some bikers.
We just give thumbs up, yay!
Yeah, but not the single digits. I think we're the only ones out there in single digits.
But he is the reason why I can do what I do.
Let's go back to where we first met Joe and Josie, the Bike Maine Getaway put on by the National MS Society in Biddeford, Maine, 3 years ago.
It's where we observed the huge range and severity of MS cases. Some riders have been diagnosed but have no symptoms and are riding a full 100 miles. Others with severe symptoms are unable to ride but are there to support the cause.
Josie at that time is somewhere in the middle of the MS pack. She's having trouble walking, can no longer safely swim, but still putting in a full day on the bike. Well, welcome and thank you for sitting down with us. How far did you ride today?
We rode 75.
Wow. And you have a special bike?
We have a tandem bike, yes. Helps me ride because otherwise I would not be able to do the ride by myself.
And in this first meeting, we learned about the early stages of Josie's MS odyssey.
I had symptoms from when I was 15, so they I want to say they knew it was dormant, but there was nothing that could be done if nothing's going on. So right then there was no preventative care or medicine, so just 3-month checkups with the doctor. And then once I had my kids, my mobility, my balance, everything just kind of went down. And then I went to the doctors and I said, you have MS? And I'm like, it wasn't even a surprise, because I'm like, well, that's what they told me it was back then. But so I've had it for, since I was 15.
There's so many mysteries about MS, such as why it affects more people in colder northern rather than warmer southern climates, why the immune system attacks the nervous system in the first place, and how the disease can go into remission for so many years.
We reached out to Dr. Angela O'Neill for some insight into MS and the neurological damage that often results. She's director of the Women's Neurology Program at Brigham and Women's Hospital in Boston.
MS is an autoimmune disorder, and women have autoimmune disorders much more frequently than men. So women have MS, women have lupus, women have neuromyelitis optica. Autoimmune conditions are much more common in women because of differences in our immunologic system.
We also asked Dr. O'Neill about exercise for MS patients like Josie.
I think the benefits of exercise are that, first of all, it keeps your body as in good a shape as you can possibly be in, because MS can, of course, cause weakness and balance problems and all kinds of neurologic problems. In addition, MS and depression are hugely co-linked, and fatigue. These patients having to work harder to do every single thing that we take for granted. And so it has multiple benefits for patients with chronic neurologic disability.
Which points to the importance of that third member in this marriage, the tandem bike that Joe brought into their lives about 10 years ago, first from Craigslist when Josie was no longer able to ride herself. Then 5 years ago, once really hooked, they had a bike created just for them by the custom tandem innovator, Da Vinci Designs.
So when he mentioned the tandem, I said, I've never been on a tandem, but I'll give it a shot. And then right away, we just kind of hooked in. And so it allows me to keep my mobility, and it just loosens me up. So I feel good. I mean, I felt great after today, depending on the weather. But still, today was a great day. But it keeps me moving, which I think is so important.
We found this company in Colorado, Da Vinci, makes a fantastic bike. And what it allows, it's independent pedaling. So she can stop pedaling, I can keep pedaling. I can stop pedaling, she can keep pedaling. So it's great. It just really works out well. I actually have it right now coupled, so I actually put them back together so we're both pedaling in sync. But I have the ability to take that off if I want to.
Three years pass after that first meeting with Joe, Josie, and their Da Vinci tandem. The COVID years during which the National MS Society rides, like many other events, weren't being held. We'd been wondering how they're doing. Was Josie in the high-risk category for COVID since MS is related to the immune system? And were they still able to get out for their rides?
Then in the summer of 2022, I run into Joe at another cycling event where we make a plan to meet at their house, go for a ride, and catch up.
Randy, get in here.
Come on.
Come on.
Yeah, well, thank you for having us.
Come on in. Come in.
Yeah, well, I'll get my bike ready.
All right.
Yeah, we'll meet you over that. We'll come over this way.
Yeah.
Everyone heads out to the driveway and the ride preparations begin. And preparing to ride, in fact, even the simplest act of getting dressed with MS is a challenge all by itself, even with skillful assistance.
Do you want the heavier jacket?
No, that one's
Mine?
good. Yeah.
You sure?
Yeah, that's good. All right. The whole prep is amazing. Thank you. I know it's come to the point where I need more assistance getting ready, but it's worth it.
Joe helps Josie with her jacket and helmet and in getting on the bike. She now wears braces to control the spasticity in her legs.
Her legs she doesn't have control, so they start buckling. So we found that this, with her braces, really keep her...
Because my ankles would hit the chain and I would be bleeding by the time we got home, and I'm like,
Yeah.
So.
And she wouldn't say anything. She'd be like, no, it's fine. It's like Monty Python. Just a flesh wound. She's bleeding. I'm like, are you all right? Oh, fine. But that's how much she loves being on the bike, that she'd put up with that.
Yeah, let's go easy on the bleeding. If we can.
Yes, no, it won't.
All right, ready when you are.
I'm ready.
Finally, they're on the road. Joe, a big, powerful guy in front, and a very petite Josie right behind.
There's a fair number of cars and motorcycles out on the road this windy Saturday morning.
But Joe's an experienced tandem pilot, and without bleeding of any kind, they ride over to the elementary school where Josie taught special ed for many years until her condition forced her to retire.
I remember the first day of school, we'd come here and kids would go out with the teachers inside. I'd walk around to the office and go to work.
Oh, that's
ideal.
Yeah. And it does become obvious on this ride that Josie's MS has progressed in the 3 years since our first meeting at the Maine Getaway. She's not able to contribute as much on the tandem, but she does her best to help Joe, especially on those hills. How are you feeling?
So good.
Good temperature?
Yeah, good temperature. So far, so good.
For most of the people we pass on this ride, it would appear Joe is doing most of the heavy lifting out there, especially as he propels an 80-pound bike with his 100-pound wife up the steeper hills. He's breathing hard, he's sweating, and that is how we tend to view exercise: big movements, straining muscles, no pain, no gain.
But Josie's doing some work of her own, if not as visibly. Remember, it's only 6 months since that last flare-up. And for someone who was helpless in a hospital bed last spring, this ride's not about mileage or speed or the calories burned. It's about being able to move again. Just move her legs against the pedals. That's the challenge, and the reward.
A lot of it's in your mind too. I'm not saying in your mind, you're thinking it, but you need to connect your brain to your muscles and just almost like let them talk and make a focus on, not just sit there and, okay, make my legs move. Just like connect that the nerves that go through your body to your legs to make your legs move, because your brain is the one that's controlling your muscles to move. So like strengthening them and connecting your brain to your whole inner body and making your muscles go and move and work for you, not against you.
To better understand the connections Josie is trying to make, we reached out to Dr. Jacob Meyer, director of the Wellness and Exercise Laboratory at Iowa State University. He's researched and published extensively on the physical and behavioral benefits of human exercise, activity, and movement.
Yeah, I think especially for people who have been able to do things differently in the past, it can be really cognitively challenging to think through, like, why can't I do what I thought I could do? Why is there this mismatch between my expectation of my body or ability and what I think I should be able to do? In particular, in something like MS, it can be hard to kind of come to terms of a potential new reality, even if it might be temporary or permanent. And it might mean sort of retraining the way that you think and the way that you move someone. And it sounds like she's on a positive path there.
But despite the effort involved, the sheer joy Josie derives from our 8-mile ride around the neighborhood, that seems just as strong as from the 80-mile ride 3 years ago at the Maine Getaway, possibly stronger.
I get excited knowing that I'm going to get on the bike. And like Joe said, like the preparing of getting on the bike, it sometimes holds me back, like, okay, I just need to get this on so I can get on the bike. Like, it's the anticipation. Once I'm on the bike and we're riding, I'm like, okay, we're out. So now we can enjoy this ride. We get home and I'm like, oh, it's like that high is there and I feel so much better. I'm like, now I feel well enough to get my day on the right path.
Which had us wondering, could the benefits of exercise be powerful even without the physical exertion? Again, Dr. Jacob Meyer.
The question becomes, well, what's the mechanism or what's causing that runner's high or cyclist high in the first place? And one way of thinking about it is that, well, it's got to be something physiological. But from something like this, in which Josie's experiencing it without that physiological precursor, then it makes you wonder, well, is this something more psychological that's happening that's causing it? Is it being outside with nature that we see that has consistent positive mental health benefits?
And do we need to think about the benefits of exercise and activity in much broader terms?
It sounds like for Josie, she's doing something together with her husband for some period of time in which they have nothing else to think about necessarily or do because they're on the bike together. Maybe that opportunity to take a time out together is the important piece. And I think that's really cool and powerful and makes it remind us that maybe the exercise, what we're doing isn't so important, but it's that we're doing it and that we're doing it in a setting that helps us feel better. That might be more important.
And Joe can certainly attest to the behavioral benefits Josie does get from these tandem rides.
Well, no, definitely. I think the biking high, if you will, or whatever for you kicks in and it stays with you. So yes, to answer your question, it's before, during, and after for Josie because she gets excited about it.
Yeah.
While she's riding, she's always fine. She's saying hi to everybody.
I know.
And then even afterwards, she's just in a better mood.
Yeah.
Because like I said, she got to get out and ride and get some exercise. And that's she's always been active. Exercise has always been a thing for her. So not being able to do stuff like that was killing her. So this is
that's my therapy. Yeah.
And maybe most importantly, these rides play a huge role in their relationship, which is a remarkable one to observe on and off the bike. And Joe has that tattoo to prove it.
That was when my kids were like, you get a tattoo?
Yeah,
you always told us not to get a tattoo. And then you got this tattoo and they're like, all right, that's okay.
But I mean, it's just important, you know. I would think Josie would be here for me if something happened to me.
Absolutely.
You know, nowadays, you know, he married her for sickness and health, and this is the cards we're dealt with, and we make the best of it.
Yep.
You know, and we try to make the best of it.
I'll take
Riding our
this card.
bikes, we're doing whatever we can. We can't do all the stuff, everything, but we can do whatever we can do.
I'm
make
so
the best of
thankful
it.
that we can do what we're doing.
That's Josie and Joe in tandem on and off the bike in dealing with the enormous challenge of MS.
And inspiring others in the process on charity rides and on their regular rides about town. Thanks to Joe and Josie for inviting us along. We hope to ride again with them next season of My Body Odyssey, but maybe not at 10 degrees.
Next up on My Body Odyssey, another story of cycling against adversity, this time not of the tandem kind. Howie is a 6-time cancer survivor who also has type 2 diabetes and just keeps on doing what he's always loved.
Yeah, it's camaraderie, it's the accomplishment, it's the scenery, it's all that put together.
And also very likely helped him through his monumental odyssey.
Because of all the riding I do, they're able to hit me harder with chemo, with radiation when they have to do it.
We hope you'll join us for that episode and share My Body Odyssey with a friend or loved one. And if you or someone you know has an all too interesting body odyssey with ups and downs, rewards and challenges, please reach out via social media or mybodyodyssey.com. This is Robert Pease with thanks to our listeners from the whole MBO team. My Body Odyssey is a Fluent Knowledge production. Original music by Ryan Adair Rooney.